We usually look on surface of everything, most of time we didn't look inner depth of life. So we will misunderstand or misinterpret the real meaning of life. Private life is important, but social life is also important. Build up ourselves is important, but build up others is also important. Surface work is important, but behind the scene work is also important. Individual achievement is important, but team achievement is also important. Seeking material happiness is important, but have grateful heart is also important. Daily production is important, but weekly preventive maintenance is also important. We focus the things we see is important, but see the thing which is invisible driving force of nature is also important. Follow family connection, human tradition, earthly knowledge, worldly religions, and wisdom words. From all these humanity values, we have basic society structure to run our life. From deep down our conscience, people look for love, peace, joy, justice, freedom, and supernatural power to face our life challenges. In moral decay world, often we can't see where we are heading. Sometime we didn't realize that we are living in a darkened world. In darkness, without a light, even with healthy eyes, we can't see anything. So we don't realize we are the sinners, fell short of the glory of God. God's light shine into this darkened world, so now we can see everything. Before we lived in the darkness, now we walk in the path of light. Before we focused on self, people, and things, now we will focus God and nature. Before we were lost on earthly culture, now we had been found and heaven bound. Before we taken everything for granted, but now we know everything are God's grace. Before we thought nature for our own use, but now we know nature is God's provision. Before we complained our circumstance, now we know everything happened for a reason. Before we focused the physical things we see, now we know we have invisible spiritual life. Before we like to create things to replace God, now we know invisible God is truly existed. Before we thought everything come from nature, now we know everything come from true God. Before we existed in this world by accident, now we know we have special purpose on this earth. Before baby came out mother womb is nature thing, now we know God place a spirit in that baby. Before we didn't know where the life come from, now we know it is come from God, not through human hand. We will reading Bible, go to church, look up cross, baptism, confession, prayer, offering, fasting and serving, all these is helping us toward true God, but it can't save us. Only truly believe that Jesus is our Savior, place Him in our heart, proclaim His name in our mouth, follow God's command and bring glory to our God's name, then we will be saved. Without God's revelation, we are blind to living in Satan-controlled world. The most important thing, we open our eye to see Jesus come down from heaven to earth and die on the cross to pay our ransom for our sin. When one door closed, then other door open, but we usually focus our eyesight on the closed door and forget the newly opened door. Right now the door of salvation is wide open, but it is not open forever. We should take this opportunity to get into the door before it closed. Jesus is life-changing God. He tear down the walls of barriers, and let people with culture, race, religious difference can become brothers and sisters of God's kingdom. Jesus is life-changing God. He removes the curse from this world, and now let the blind can see. Jesus said, "For judgment I came into this world, that those who do not see may see, and those who see may become blind." John 9:39. We need humble heart and open mind to see Jesus, otherwise we have eyes, but still are blind. Before we didn't know the meaning of living, now we see that we have so many talents to be used for God. Before we didn't know the purpose of life, now we see that we can use our talents to glorify our God. Before we head to self-destruction, but right now we have crossover death to life, and have an eternal hope.